there's something that I want to talk about that throughout the course of this season I've heard you slightly mention, but I haven't really heard you utilize this phrase. I want you to keep this phrase in your memory banks.
Mhm.
And it's the one problem why it's the one reason why we don't have a championship ring or a new one, I should say. And it's the one thing that's holding us back. Unfortunately, it all comes down to it being the Jimmy Garoppolo situation.
Hmm.
The phrase is throwing your receiver open.
Okay.
Jimmy does not have the capability to do that. And it's much more nuanced than just a long ball.
Mhm.
Throwing your receiver open means if you're running across the field, I'm going to throw the ball to where you have to run up to catch the ball as opposed to reach back
Mhm.
and catch it. And when you do that, that's why our team is known as a yak team.
Mhm.
Those same players that are great at yak, if you throw them open, they're walking into the end zone. We got the
You know who's better
fastest.
at throwing people open? Mac
Say it
Jones.
again.
You know who's better at throwing people open? Mac Jones.
Mac Jones. Yeah.
Mac Jones.
Yes, he
Yeah.
is.
You know who could do
Yeah.
that back in the day when we were kids? Kurt Warner.
Yes,
Kurt
he
Warner.
did.
I
Yes,
think a
he
lot of
did.
people look at Jimmy and think that's Kurt Warner. No. Kurt Warner like carried his offenses with his arm. They had Marshall Faulk, but they threw to Marshall Faulk. They weren't
Yeah.
a run first team. They're like, Kurt, just throw the ball 22 times and don't mess up. No.
Right.
No. Throw the ball 45 times and win the game with like 400 yards, please. And he did that for a while. That's never been Jimmy G.
No, not at all.
No,
Not at all.
no.
Because aside from the fact that he doesn't know how to throw receivers open, he also doesn't have that strong of an arm. So he's just not a guy that you can rely on. You know who Jimmy Garoppolo is?
Who?
Jimmy Garoppolo is the left coast version of Joe Flacco. The difference is that Joe Flacco had a way better arm, so he could toss the ball down the field every once in a while, which is why they got the Super Bowl. We didn't.
But what they have in common is they have all this capital built up with the franchise and the fan base for taking them somewhere and making them feel good and relevant, which is important. But like for example, it was way easier for the Patriots to move on from Cam and go to Mac Jones and just make that switch because Cam had no capital built up with that organization. He was a Panther. Right. He'd been there for a year and they didn't do anything. Jimmy, I mean, without Jimmy, this team has been nothing since Colin Kaepernick. So it's a lot different.
Yeah, and that's so very true what you say, because I really find myself like, man, I wish Jim was here. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting here watching the Michigan State game right now because I miss Jim, man. I miss those years. I miss the way that he had us rocking, and it wasn't so much that he was a visionary. He relied on his coordinators for that. What I felt that was good for Jim is that he got into the soul of the players and got the most out of them, because it felt like he was going to fight for you just as much as those players fought for him on the field.
Look at the Ravens. Look at John Harbaugh. It was like having Ravens West. It's a lot like that. Ravens West. And that's a really interesting team. It's not really in the 49ers tradition. It's a defense. It's kind of a blue-collar team, whatever that means. But it kicks ass a lot of the time. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Although, I'll be honest with you, since the Harbaugh era, that's kind of what our identity has been. Stout defense, run the ball.
And what's funny is they bring in Kyle to bring like a more West Coast finesse, highlight really style football, but at his best, they run the ball just like Shanahan, just like Harbaugh. It's pretty funny.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Good to see you, man. Great call.
All right, man. Likewise. Thanks, Grant.
All right, take care. Chewy, not super worried. The Niners shut down Kupp, Hopkins, DK, and Lockett. Only Adams has hurt them. The difference will be the Vikings' terrible run D. The thing about the Vikings' terrible run D is it's not that bad. They give up like 4 or 5 yards of carry, but they don't give up long carries, and it's all by design. They're playing two deep safeties. They want you to run the ball. They don't want you to throw the ball down the field. They're taking away explosives. So unless Deebo Samuel is the running back and he's breaking tackles, the Niners aren't going to get very, very many long runs. They're going to have to really execute and Jimmy's going to have to not throw passes to linebackers. The Niners couldn't cover Michael Pittman. They gave up 27 points to the Seahawks. They got smacked by Colt McCoy and what's his face, Christian Kirk and Rondale Moore. I mean, This defense has really been shaky at home in particular.